Okay, I will tell people that we record the message so they can be rebroadcast, and by staying on the line, you consent to be recorded.
It's all good.
Tells us if we talk too much when we watch it later.
We'll wait one more minute, then we will convene. Dan Mason, we're going to do a quick run through, and I don't know that we've gotten a report from the Southern O-Scale meet earlier in the year, and I'd like to get a couple of minutes on that if you could.
Sure, David. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Dan Mason.
How you doing, David?
Good.
I haven't seen you in a long time, Dan.
Yes, I've been busy, but need to get back in the hobby. Need to be getting back doing something besides trying to get this building built.
All right.
Is that okay?
We'll wait one more minute. People are still coming in. All right, let's hit it. Okay. Good afternoon. This is the monthly online program for O-Scale Central. This is the 9th of June, 2024. I want to welcome everybody. I'm David Vaughn. I want right at the outset to introduce a number of people. Everybody on this call is by definition a celebrity because you are a two-rail O-Scale modeler. We are the few and the proud, and by golly, we are all special. But let me just flag a few people in particular. Number one, I want to welcome Jim Kello, who's the moderator for New Tracks Modeling, which is an all-scale model railroading show. And Jim has been very supportive of O-Scale 2-Rail and O-Scale Central. And in fact, we have a segment on his program that David Schultz, also of our board of directors, is on. I thought for sure that Santiago Pineda would be the furthest traveler since he is from South America, but Brent Hopley from New Zealand, I think, has surpassed him in terms of how far his electrons have come. So we welcome them. Dan Mason, who is O-Scale Central's legal advisor, and works with the Atlanta Club and has been in charge. I'm not trying to put too fine a point on this, of O-Scale South, is also here. Greg Vigiano is the technical support advisor, talent rounder-upper, and otherwise for this program and for O-Scale Central. I'm always happy to have his support. Paul Hansen is O-Scale Central's Proto 48 coordinator. Bruce Blackwood is a former president of O-Scale Central. we have two guests of honor today. One is Scott Mann, who heads Sunset Third Rail, and Skylar Shippey, who is also on our board of directors, president of the Detroit Model Railroad Club, and will be telling us about his design, construction, and operation of a modular two-rail O-scale layout. Scott Kay is our O-scale Central advisor who is handling our website, and he has been doing a great job getting it updated and being responsive to the different people who need space on the website. I really appreciate that. Joe Barker from our board of directors is also on the call, and Jim Cantor, who has been the spark plug on a particular Sunset Third Rail project that we will be talking about, is also here. Everybody else is a general purpose celebrity. Some of the folks who are on the call are here for the first time. Welcome. And a number of you are also back. I recognize faces and names and locations. We really appreciate your continued support. I hope that at some point that support will be reflected in your membership in O-scale Central. Go to oscalecentral.com to do that. But whether you're a member or not, you are welcome here as part of the O-scale community. I want to start by getting some very brief discussion, just a general update from some of the recent meets that have been held. And I'm going to start with what's going on in New Zealand. There is a sizable New Zealand O-scale community who model American prototypes. Brent Hopley is one of the leaders of that group, and I think there's been some action recently, and I'd like to have him tell us about it. Brent.
Yeah, thank you, David, and good afternoon or good evening to you all. Down here in New Zealand, we're currently just after 8 o'clock on Monday morning, and we're in the start of winter, so the fire is lit, and we're all dressed up for the cold season. So in terms of the modelling down here, and very briefly, 30 years ago, our main interest here was New Zealand railways in English, but that's moved on, and now American model railroad, US modelling is by far the biggest prototype that is modelled here. And I speak from having been president of the New Zealand Association of Model Railway Clubs for 12 odd years. O-scale isn't a big feature here. We run AMRAs, American Model Railway Association meetings yearly. We have alternatively, we have a mini meeting, and then the next year we have a large scale. I guess we get between 150 to 200 people, bearing in mind we've got a population of 5 million. And while we're not a big country, we're 1,200 miles long. So that's reaching, for instance, if our North North Island would be at the top of the Florida Keys, and Stewart Island, which is at the bottom, would be around Montreal. So we're very skinny but long, and so that's the country. Modelling wise, as I say, we have the AMRAs each year. We have a small contingent of the NMRA here, which is building. We've doubled in size in the last 12 months, and we'll probably double again in the next 12 months with a very active leader in that space. Back to the O-scale. As I say, there's not a lot of us, but there is a growing number. The issue that we have here in New Zealand is we don't have big basements like a lot of American houses do. So garages are often our choice of setting up our layouts. There's a couple of portable layouts. I have sitting in my garage here a 50-foot by 20-foot modular layout, which was built for, I'll call it New Zealand O-scale. It's 9mm to the foot, which is about 133.86. Not about exactly that. It just uses O-scale track because our national gauge here is 3'6". to operate it, I took it over after it had been stored and put in storage for 10 years. And I was living in Wellington, where there was a very active community of US modelers. Kel Shearson, for those of you who may have met Kel, he's been over to the States many times. And to operate this large layout and set it up and put it on shows for the weekend, I needed a group of people. And I was at that time pretty active in the Wellington Central American modelers, who are mostly HO modelers. And so on the weekends, we would run a little bit of NZR, New Zealand Railways, but a lot of American O-scale. And when I got the offer of purchasing the layout, which I'd helped build back in the early 90s, we were around on our 2 weekly Friday evening session, and I said, look, I've got this offer to buy this layout, but I need people to operate it. And the chappie whose house we were at, an HO modeler, lifted the curtain on his layout up and said, I'll be able to run this. And as it turned out, most of the HO modelers had bought on their visits to the States O-scale models of their favourite loco or railroad. So that's probably the most active O-scale group. Unfortunately, I've shifted to the South Island now. But back in Wellington, there is a small group of O-scale modelers, and up and down the country, we are not, in terms of proportion, I guess you could say it's getting a growing community, but our numbers are pretty small. We tend over here to be more scale orientated, and by that I mean we like the detail and the accuracy, but it's not a given. So that's really where we're at. I saw this opportunity to jump online, and I visited, I think it was the 2018 O-scale convention in Washington, DC, which was hosted by David. And another factor of our modelling here is we predominantly like to operate. So those of you who know Lance Mindham, who is an HO modeler, does a lot of operational type, like switching and scheduling, so running on schedules. So was that enough, David?
Oh, great. Thank you, Brett. Thank you for joining us, especially early on the Monday morning. A number of you will recall Kel Shearson, who has been on a number of these programs before, and who, in addition to being an American O-scale modeler, is a nickel plate modeler. So he's got a special place in my heart. So we're good on that. Thank you for the update. Thank you for joining us. I saw that Rod Miller is on the call, and Rod recently coordinated, I'm not going to put too fine a point on the title he held, but he pulled O-scale West back together. And I'd like it if Rod could give us just a brief rundown on how O-scale West turned out, and sort of what his thoughts are going forward.
Sure, David. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I have to admit to being realizing a rather embarrassing thing. I've been doing Zoom meetings for 2 years, and I have I use an external monitor with a camera and an external keyboard to my laptop. And so that works just fine, but I couldn't figure out why nobody could hear me. And it took me 2 years to figure out that the laptop that was sitting with the lid closed next to me has a microphone under the lid. So the lid is open and you're hearing me, so I'm glad to hear that. So O-scale West was 2 weeks ago now, and my relationship with the meet is that I retired as committee chair in 2018, and it was taken over by somebody else who resigned suddenly early this winter, and so the committee had to somewhat scramble, and I became involved in that primarily with the goal of doing promotion, which had been neglected for the last 5 years. And so that was what I did. And the bottom line for the meet was that We didn't see the increase in attendance that we thought the promotion we did would have provided. So yeah, that was kind of a surprise to the whole committee. On the other side of that, and David, I'm going to ask you to comment on your feelings about it because you were there. The meet had, to me, what I would call the feel of the old O-Scale West meets, which were typically fairly relaxed and pretty enjoyable. And so I was glad to see that. People that there was a variety of people did make sales. Yeah, I sold a couple of items that I thought I would never sell, and they sold. So that was good. So if David, if I may, kind of turn it back to you and ask you for your comments since you were there.
Well, thank you. O-Scale Central took a table. We have not had a strong presence on the West Coast for the last few years, although back in the day, Rod Miller was the president of what was then O-Scale Kings, and he had a group of people around who were quite active. That has sort of slid back over a period of time, and to the extent that that may be the result of lack of attention on the part of O-Scale Central, wanted to try and see if we could reverse that and have a presence. We were treated very well there. They gave us a nice table. I did a clinic. We had a number of people who expressed interest in membership. There was a lovely O-Scale modular layout or sectional layout, I guess, that performed. I think the people who were there had a good time. It did have a nice flavor to it. And given the fact that the committee started from a zero dead stop about 3 months before the convention, I think the committee did a very good job. It is clearly a changed world from back in the 90s when O-Scale West was having these really blowout successful programs every year. I think it can be rescued. I think it should be rescued. O-Scale West is historically up there with Chicago as one of the two premier O-Scale shows in the country. Whether it can be done in a hotel-centered show, and particularly not in a hotel-centered show in Santa Clara, which is the middle of Silicon Valley, and done at a price tag that makes sense, that I don't know. That's a little dicier, but the committee is there, and hopefully we'll pick up a few younger, newer people. And I certainly think it should be done. I think Rod and Tim and the committee really put in a lot of work in a very short period of time. It couldn't make it all the way back, but the show was a critical success, if not a total financial success. But I really appreciate the guys putting in the work. Does that tell you what you need to know, Rod? Is there something else you want to ask me about how that worked?
Well, that's very good, David. I really appreciate your comments regarding the venue for the show. Yes, we are in very expensive Silicon Valley, but we have been at this hotel, the Hyatt Regency, for 20 plus years now, and we have a very good working relationship with them. And the charges that what they charge us for the ballroom space we get is a real bargain, considering that we occupy the ballroom from Friday through Sunday. And many hotels view Saturday evening weddings as the primo event for them because they're highly profitable.
Okay.
And we prevent this hotel from having that kind of an event with O-Scale West. So the fact that they're happy to have us, I think is indicative of the length of our relationship. And to some extent, the fact we do it on Memorial Day weekend, which is sort of a dead weekend in Silicon Valley, it also works to both our advantage and our disadvantage.
Thank you.
Yes.
We just finished with the Harrisburg all narrow gauge meet. Narrow gauge is an important part of O-Scale, and a lot of the guys who participated are O-Scalers. And I'm gonna change just a minute to get a. I'd like to have Bruce give me a quick rundown on his take on the Harrisburg meet.
Sure. It was, according to some people, better attended than last year. The numbers didn't show to us as we were sitting behind our table, but the people that were there were buying stuff, and that's always important to a vendor. Had really good weather, that might have hurt it a little bit. There could be better advertising, I think. They they tend to strictly go with Facebook, and I think that kind of loses a lot of the market for them because a lot of us older guys don't really do much on Facebook. But it was a good thing. They had some really neat stuff. As most of us know, these narrow gauge guys can really do some modeling. They had a thing that I took of great interest. It was a car swap. And what you did was bring in a car that you had either scratch built or weathered or whatever, and put it on a track. And then everybody that participated in that drew a number, and then they got to select a car from that group. There were 16 entries, and I think for the most part, 15 of those people were very happy with what they got. Whoever got mine probably wasn't all that great impressed with what was offered, but
Okay,
it was a lot of fun.
the good news is we've got a nickel plate Jeep Ford, a SD 40-2 on the screen. The bad news is we're not quite there in the program yet. So I'm guessing. Thank you. All righty.
But it was a good show. It's a Friday, Saturday deal, and Saturday, like I say, was pretty light in attendance, but
One thing that's interesting about the Harrisburg show, as opposed to O-Scale West, is that is in one of these. Harrisburg is in one of these mega churches, and the good news is you don't have to worry about minimum room night guarantees and the kind of overhead that you have at a hotel. The bad news is everybody's on their own for accommodations, and I know when I've gone up to Harrisburg, you got to get on the road at 6 a.m. to be there in order to set up for the show. But thank you, Bruce, for the take on Harrisburg. And finally, O-Scale South is one of the really neat shows that certainly has a relatively low profile nationally, but it's a really good show. I was there not this year, but the year before. Jim Canner and I went. Dan Mason coordinates that show, and it was held in, I think, February, but we haven't seen Dan since then. So Dan, could you give us a quick rundown on what happened at that show and then what the plan is for next year? Because I know you guys have sometimes rotated. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Dan, you're muted. Dan, you are muted. Dan, we can't hear you.
There you go.
There you go.
Good evening, gentlemen. How you doing? Get lively here. Let's talk about a good section of the country where we have some good O-scale. There's two things important I want to leave you with. First, O-scale South is growing. We had a lot more tables. We had a lot of people. We're a dress down regional meet. We don't go for hotels and signing contracts, but we get everybody we can from the surrounding states, whether Georgia, because we're located where we have this is at a church on the northern part of Atlanta. And we draw from all the communities, including the states around us. And we had guys from Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Everybody in that area came to see us. So invite you to come down. We're growing, but we like what we're doing. People like it there. We are an only O-scale 2-rail. That includes ON3, etc. But that's all we do. We don't do a general train show. We have a big division of the National Model Railroad Association in this area, the Piedmont Division, and they put a big show on every year, but we're not connected with them from that standpoint. What we are doing is this show is going to grow, I think, in the future. The Model Railroad Club of Atlanta, which is RMCA, has now sold the building where it housed one of the oldest O-scale 2-rail layouts in the country since 1937. We have been an O-scale 2-rail. We tore down our layout there a year ago, and we're fixing to take our money, which is a very unusual thing, to promote O-scale 2-rail by building and having a building built. We just signed a contract a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to start digging and excavating and hope to get this thing up within this year. A 7,200 square foot building, and it's going to be trains. And we're going to have plenty of room for a big layout, and maybe in the future we would have O-scale South there as one of the venues. But at any rate, anytime you're down here, come and see us, and hopefully we'll be running some trains pretty soon from that standpoint. But we think that is a big deal for O-scale 2-rail because you don't hear too many buildings being owned by the railroad club, the O-scale 2-rail club, and then building a building and having an O-scale 2-rail layout. It will make it the premier club in this state for sure, because no one else has got a building that they own to start with. So that's an important thing for O-scale Central, and we always need to know that that's an improvement over where O-scale 2-rail. We're not going down the two, we're building up. And we built the first building. I don't know how many clubs can say that they can do that, or how many scales can do that. Usually they're getting thrown out or lose their leases, but we're going to be building. So that's a new thing. I want to also tell you that we're going to be looking for a suggestion for a layout that we're going to try to advertise to maybe have a prize to give to the best recommended layout if we use it, because we want to really take a serious interest in the operational layout and a continuous running together to have something developed for about 5,400 square feet out of the building. So maybe you'll see something about that in one of the magazines. We hope to promote that, and we look within the next year of trying to develop that layout. Any suggestions? People around the country that have built large layouts or have a great design, but you can't use it or you want to offer it, please let me know. Okay. Thank you very much.
Super,
Dan,
super. That's great news.
David, sorry. Dan, when is the next event?
The next
For
event
South.
is the 24th. I believe that's a Saturday. Our show, by the way, is a one-day show of February. It's always in February, a cold month, normally up north, but come down and you'll enjoy the weather down here too. But it's 24th, 25th of February is the 2 dates, either that Saturday. I'm not sure where it shows right now, but that's when we're going to do it.
Where is it going to be? Where?
It is going to be in Roswell, Georgia, which is a community suburb north of Atlanta. plenty of hotels around, and we have a website, and it's O-Scale South. And Dan Dowdy is doing our website for us, including the Railroad Model Club of Atlanta. And we'll have that up and running shortly from that standpoint.
Great, good group of people, good facilities. Jim Cantor and I went down there, not this year, but last year. And we really had fun, and it's a good group. So thank you very much, Dan.
Sure.
All right, we're going to turn now to our call him our guest of honor, and that is Scott Mann. You all are undoubtedly familiar with Sunset Third Rail, and he has been a continuous bright light for Two Rail O-Scale. We've worked with him on a number of projects. He's very responsive. He's very customer friendly. And at least for now, he is still bringing in products. So I wanted to get Scott on first to talk about the immediate project that he has delivered on, and that's the SD40-2 project, and then find out what else is in the pipeline, and what he sees as the future of his business and of O-Scale Two Rail importing, and anything else that he wants to tell us. Scott is very candid in terms of his responses. So if we have questions for him, he will have answers. Scott, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm here in our little warehouse, and these are all the Superliners, Viewliners, and Ampli cars. And I convinced one of my guys to come in on a Sunday because we have kind of a broken up week, and I wanted to get most everything out before I had to go going out of town on Friday. So this is all what's going to ship on. This is all what's going to ship on Monday, plus I don't know, a whole pile of invoices. So business is good, and it's brisk, and people are spending money, and they're ordering stuff and giving us ideas on new things to make. And I'm very fortunate to have a really good team across the pond. I've got a Korean guy who's been working with the same people at the factory for over 20 years. And between him and them, they really know how to make our stuff, and they really know what you guys like to see as far as quality and fit and finish and all that. So it kind of runs very smoothly as long as I have information at hand to make the special models that people are requesting. So yeah, things are cruising along, and I'm keeping very busy. And I don't know if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Let's start with the projects that just came in.
Okay.
Tell us about what they are and what the status of the products and inventory is.
Okay, so we got in a large number of SD40-2 diesels, and that was the project from hell. It just took a very long time to get the design done. COVID affected it very directly, mostly in the design phase. My friend and partner in crime, Jonathan Pfeiffer, who is an architect by trade, he loves drawing up these paint schemes for us, and also he checks them when they come in from, he does the drawing and they do a drawing on top of his drawing, and from that they make the decals and the maskings and things like that. It's all really done by hand. Some outfits are doing things a little more automated, but this is one by one, really. And Jonathan would send.
Lori had 3 hard drinks.
Okay,
If he
if
never
you
went to the register.
if you are not speaking, please mute yourself.
Anyway, so it took, he would send out corrections that would get back to this young lady at the factory, Mrs. Wong, and she's really responsible for all the drawings that turn into decals and maskings, and it was one ignored change after another. It took literally 2.5 years to get that project completely proofed so that we could go into production. Luckily, we had other things that we could give to the factory in the meantime. We call them gap fillers, and that's when we do a rerun. We'll take orders for reruns so that we have something to give to them in that place, because these factories, they have to pay their people even when they're idle. So they really need a continuous flow of production and product. And I'm very cognizant of all these little businesses that are working with us, and we're a very tiny business too, and they need capital. There was a day back in the 1980s to about 2000, where the little Korean fat builders, you would open up a letter of credit, and they would take your letter of credit and borrow from a local bank. And that was how they funded their projects. And we didn't actually have to fund them. We just opened a letter of credit, and we got a large account of a large space of credit that we could use. And then the IMF came in when all these banks had problems overseas. And now they won't let these little businesses borrow anymore. So we're forced to send cold hard cash out there. And the way we do it is a 30% deposit to begin, and a 40% after they show us samples and we've tested them, and then the final amount when it's on the boat. So in every stage, we usually had to go over there and check on things, but COVID prevented me from traveling. So we did a lot of Zoom, we do it on Skype. And we do a lot of checking and double checking of what they're doing, and it's worked out really well. The quality's been good, and now we have that in place. I don't have to go over there every 2 months like I did, and I'm almost 61, and it's, as you guys know, jet lag becomes really a problem as you get older. So anyway, that's the story of Sunset Models and Golden Gate Depot right now. We have a set of projects after the SD40s. Are working on the E7 rerun. They're finishing up the New York Central H10 Mikado. That should be done in July, coming in August or September. And E7s, and after that, SD7 and 9 rerun. Then we've got the FAFB design done, and we'll go into production with the FAFB. And then the Genesis engine and charger should be ready to go after that. So we got a lot of stuff to do, and it just takes a little bit of time. And of course, everybody has been really supportive. If I send out a letter and say, okay, you need to send in your money, people don't hesitate, and they know that we're gonna be here, and we're not gonna evaporate, and they'll get their models. So everything's working.
What do you have in stock right now that if somebody wanted to send in some money, they could get shipment on?
So it's kind of an interesting process. First thing is we fill all the paid orders, and the partial payment paid orders we put on hold on the shelves, and then we check and double check and triple check before we ship out everything that's been paid in full. And then we look and see what we got on the shelf, and it's like, why do we have an extra one of these, and why are we short one of these? Well, obviously we made a mistake and we shipped somebody the wrong model. So we chase those down for a week or two, and then we actually know what we have in stock. So right now I'm not at liberty to say exactly what we have, but it's very little for the SD 40-2s. Just a few 2 rails, a few 3 rails, and there are a lot of people on standby and we go to the standbys in order of the date their reservation was recorded, and we call them and ask them if they still want that model. If they don't, we go to the next. And if we don't have any customers for those, we put them up on the website. But it's really not that many out of as many models as we did. It's it's gotten very tight. And the superliners and Amfleet cars, the numbers are a little looser, and there's a number of people that just didn't come forward after they reserved, and then after they confirmed, and then you send them notice after notice, and you call them, and it's like, where'd you go? So we'll have those up on the website in a couple of weeks, and after we go through some of the standbys for that.
Okay, and how do people get on your list to get the updates? They come out periodically on email. Is there a place people go to sign up, or is
there's on the website there's a newsletter sign up. I haven't been very regular with the newsletters, partially because we don't it takes a long time before we announce a new model. I don't want to announce a model that's going to compete with what I'm working with currently, because then we get people that drop out for the new thing that we announced. So we kind of hold that off. As far as the newsletters, they've been a little slow, but when we have something new, we do put it out. Now we also have a Facebook presence. I don't run that. It's run by a young gentleman, Jay Escamilla. He's also calls himself Third and Townsend, and he's a nice young man. And we've been working together on that and new announcements that go through the Facebook page. But I got to tell you, we have everybody, and we're in contact with all the same people, whether they're looking at it on Facebook or they're looking at it on our newsletter or in an email list. Really, we only have a couple hundred active customers at any given time. So it's, my father, he tested the waters early on. He put ads in the Robb Report and the Smithsonian for some new HO brass models. And the only responses we got were from his customers who said, "Hey, I saw your ad in the Robb Report. That's pretty cool." But it didn't add to our pool of customers at all. Everybody who wants our stuff knows who we are, and anybody new that finds out about it comes to the website and reserves things. So, the advertising is fairly simple.
how are you producing your models? Let me focus a little bit more on that question. There are obviously changes that are taking place in production to utilize 3D printing. You're obviously doing a lot shorter runs on whatever injection molding you're doing that was traditionally practical in terms of the run length and the prices. Talk to us about what the production process is and where you see it going, and is it impacted in any way by the 3D printing revolution?
3D printing. I've actually gotten into 3D printing on my hobby, which is RC planes, and I've been building RC planes from 3D printed files, and but I've also experimented in trying to reproduce some model train parts. Now, 3D printing in resin, you can get the tolerance to get on an almost paintable surface. But on the filament side of 3D printing, which is what I'm familiar with, it's not there yet. It's not a smooth surface. It has to be reworked to do anything. So what we do use routinely is 3D design, and our designers do a very nice job of creating these models that are ready to go right into production from the design. They don't need a sample to prove the design. We can correct things on the fly as we go along. There might be a few artifacts and things like that get into a model because we're not stopping everything to look at a production sample. So that streamlines not only us but our factory, And so that eases the cost and the prices to the end customer. We do many different road names, and I've been warned again and again by the factory, if you go over 20 road names and paint schemes, there's going to be an extra cost for all of the models. And that's just the way the market works today. I can't get the minimum quantities that other companies are forced to do on their productions. If you notice, some of the competitors, they'll only run 4 or 5 paint schemes at a time. But I like to present a large number to the factory. Here is your big nut for the next 4 to 5 months, but you're going to have to do 30 paint schemes. And they do it, and they complain, they whine and complain, and then they move on to the next project. I think they're very thankful right now. The economy is pretty bad in China, and they see it all around them, and they think they're very thankful that they're working with someone who pays them regularly, who doesn't fight with them, and works problems out. And I got to tell you, when there's a problem, the factory can't afford to pay for it. They sell 100% of the models to me at a certain price, and if there's a problem, now they're losing money. So I pay them the extra money for correcting, this, that, or the other, and that keeps them happy, and that keeps things flowing. So as far as manufacturing process on diesels, we only tool the shell and the trucks. Everything else is sort of built up like a brass model. We have the frame is a stamped steel frame, and parts are attached to it with screws. And there's a lot of brass details that go onto the plastic shell. So they're able to do the shells in large quantities, and then they change all of the details for each road name after the fact. And that's how we're able to continue doing this for plastic. And in aluminum, for our aluminum cars, we used to have to buy tools to do every different car window pattern. And we found a way of doing it through a CNC method. So now we can do extremely low quantities of any given car. It just goes into a big farm of CNC machines that are cutting these cars for us, in an economical way that works out for both of us.
On the lettering and painting on the cars, it comes out, the SD42s are really nice and crisp. How do you do that? Is that a traditional pad printing, or is it something else?
These are decals. The quantities are too small for pad printing. When you do pad printing, you have to buy the patterns in steel for the print, and that can get very expensive if you're doing very small quantities, and many road names. So it's masking and painting, and the crew over there are fantastic. They do a wonderful job. Now, every once in a while, when we get the samples or we see pictures from production, we'll point out, this decal looks like it's see-through, little transparent. You can see the background color coming through, or the decal doesn't match the paint color exactly. There's a lot of variables, and they just have to go back to the decal maker and try again and again sometimes. And that's another, point of contention. Their subcontractor wants more money. The factory doesn't want to pay them, so they ask me to make up the difference. And so I do.
Now, I don't see any decal film, which would be the case if it was a traditional decal. What kind of decals are you using that come out with basically no film?
Since I started with Dad back in 94, 96, all of the decals came out of Korea. And the Korean style decals always had the film on top of the color element. So you would soak your decal in water, put it onto the model, let it dry completely, and then they would take a hot gun and just gently heat up the film, and it would peel away from the the paint. So, or the color element on the decal. And so that's all you see is the color element. And then they seal it with an overspray of polyurethane.
So
Wow.
the film is actually on the outside of the decal and it's heated and then peeled away. So it's basically filmless.
It's filmless. Yeah, it's very, very nice stuff, but it can be a little tricky. And we found that if you're trying to work with a 20-year-old piece of decal to help somebody repair a model, it doesn't work out very well. The color will start peeling off with the top coat.
One last question, and then I want to turn it over to any questions from the audience participants. But you have been working closely with Jim Cantor to do a nickel plate SD40-2. And for those of you who don't think nickel plate had SD40-2s, I can show you we really do because we have them. So they're in our fantasy. Norfolk and Western did not take over, rape, pillage, and eradicate the nickel plate. It lives on. But that process has been an interesting process for Jim and me. And at the risk of putting more road names into the mix for your guys over in the factory, it is something that could be done with other railroads, whether they are full size or if they only exist in 48 to the foot. Can you walk us through I'll call it a special project, but you may not consider it that way. How does that work?
Well, you guys approached me on this and I said, okay, let's do it. But the part that we really need help on is the data to help with the design of the decals and the lettering. I mean, it gets down into sometimes Jonathan has to build the font by hand for each letter to get it to match the prototype. So once he gets all of that done, then we send these documents back to whoever's buying these models and get their approval, because once the ball gets rolling, it's really hard to stop it and it's really hard to change anything. So, and usually I found that you change something late in the game on a project, usually it comes out worse. So it's very important to have everything set in stone, ready to go into production when that time comes. And we went back and forth with you and Jim several times at the end, almost in a panic because things were rolling at the factory and they wanted to get things done. And I think they came out very well. And I don't think you've received them yet, have you?
Jim did. I haven't.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Scott, I have received mine, and they are stunning, and they are excellent runners.
Thank you.
One of the issues I think you're going to have is people are going to want these and wish that they ordered them sooner. These are going to be amazing locomotives. That's quite nice. The sound system is great. I am shocked that it's decal. The artwork on this is stunning. And David hadn't received his yet, but I got mine yesterday. I've already proto 48'd one of them, and it absolutely runs great. It is amazing. I'm in my train room till midnight last night. I got up at 8 this morning, running it again, and it's just great. So sometimes fantasies that last 30 or 40 years come to pass. And so your smile made me smile, but when David gets his, we're all going to be happy. But there's going to be a lot of modelers that wish that they would have ordered these because they are really nice. Thank you.
There's no, oh, Jim, thank you. And there's no reason that we can't do another run of these. And usually we come back within a few years, 2-3 years with a rerun. And it's usually spurred on by all the standby orders that I couldn't fill. I mean, if I have 50 or 60 standby orders, that's that's a third of the way there for another run, which is usually about 150, 200 models. And those reruns are bread and butter for the factory and keep everything running over here. So I'm happy you're happy.
Scott?
Yes.
This is Jerry Ingram in Alameda, California, not far from where you are.
Hi, Jerry.
Yeah, hi. I had a question about a previously announced set of passenger cars. I believe you were going to do the Santa Fe Chief again, an early Chief. What's the status of that project?
It's on the radar. It's got some good orders. It could use a few more. We have to do this design all the way from the ground up, which I don't mind because it'll be much better than it was made the last time we made it. It was done in a style of K-line cars. When we were first doing aluminum cars, we did let's see, the first one was the Empire State Express, and it was actually nickel plated, which was very, very difficult. And we went away from the actual plating process to a painting process. So the Super Chief was a second run of that same style car. So this will be nice to redo it and do it, in the style that we've been doing things lately.
Any idea when it will be produced?
Probably sometime next year. Yeah.
Scott, how about the Prospector?
Prospector, the design is in process. I just got the first round of drawings to correct. Be nice to have somebody who would like to help me proof the drawings. Any volunteers?
If you want it, you got to play the game. I see Joe. Joe has his hand raised.
Yeah.
And why don't you, Joe? You got a question or comment?
Joe Barker.
Hey, Dan or David. Hey, Scott. Thanks for taking my question. I had a question as far as just looking for a status update on the Crescent. Just where it was at in the. So I think it was. I think it's still a. Last I heard, it was a go. It was just waiting to get out of design, or just wanted
So
general status.
the Crescent, the design is done, and we are going forward with the B&O Capital Limited. And once that's done, then we'll put the Crescent into production. So it should be here early next year, like January, February.
Okay, perfect. And had a question about heavyweight coaches. I saw something on the forum. There was a possibility of just doing separate sale floors and roofs. Is that still a possibility? I was looking at ordering probably about 4 or 5 roofs to do my own cars.
So, we're revisiting some old tooling, and it's a different company that's going to be making them this time. He actually made the last run for us, and so he's going to do.
Fleeing suspected car thief.
All right, proceed. Hello, hello.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now
So we're doing basically cars in 2 styles with 2 different style roofs that can be interchanged. So we're going to make extra roofs so people can swap the roofs on their cars with a clerestory style roof to an arched roof. So yeah, we'll be selling the roofs, but I don't have plans to sell the interiors. The interiors.
Yeah, that's fine. I was more or less looking for
planning-
roofs and floors, interiors. If you don't offer the interior, that's fine. Just looking for some replacement roofs. How would we order these? Would they just be posted on the website reservation tab, or?
Yeah, probably when the project comes in, we'll have a bunch of roofs that you can order off the website. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, and I'll be.
How are
I'm
you?
looking to order some cars
How are you
too.
going to do the stainless steel on the Super Chief?
Oh, it's the same way we do all of our Bud style cars. It's a paint that just looks like metal. It's really convincing. In fact, I got started down that road when the original factory that was doing the nickel plate, they said, "Oh, we have a new formula for the nickel plating," and they sent me samples. And I looked at them next to the nickel, and they looked exactly the same. They sparkled in the light. They had metallic flakes in them, and it was painted. I didn't know that. So from that point on, we painted the cars.
Wow.
Thank you.
Carl Sorensen, you got your hand up. You need to unmute yourself. There you go.
I just did. Thank you. Scott, I've
Yep.
visited you through emails before. Behind me is a picture of the prototype of the E8 I bought from you, but I really wanted an E9. And everybody last month saw my poor Pennsylvania that's trading over to Union Pacific. But the question I had, they gave me some recommendations that didn't work. Do you happen to know the best way to remove the windows and the portholes?
Oh, the windows and the portholes. Well, it's probably just a glue, and you
Okay.
could probably just pop them out.
Well, they
I
don't
would.
pop out well. They hold on well.
They hold on too well. And then,
Too well,
we
yeah.
have the other problem where they fall out on their own.
Oh,
So
I haven't had that problem yet, but anyway, I'm working on it and making it into an E9. Two more questions and I'll let everybody else. Do you plan on doing any E units, B units, EBs rather, in the future? And when is the Jeep 30 supposed to come out? You didn't mention them.
the Jeep 30, I have about 150 reservations, and it's really halfway there.
Ah, okay.
It's
I need to buy
probably,
it, is what you're saying.
I don't know. Sometimes when a project does that, it just isn't meant to be.
Oh,
And so we have to choose something else that people are more interested in. And as far as more E units, yeah, I mean, the people keep buying more E units. I guess they want a different road name or something like that. And so we're able to, get 250, 300 orders for another 15, 20 road name run. And then we do it.
okay.
So now we made did we make an E9 Union Pacific?
No,
or was it E8?
but you did make single headlight E8s.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm modifying this one to make it into a UPE9.
There you go.
That's been fun. Things like taking windows off has been the biggest challenge. Everything else is coming out pretty good.
Well, I've learned a few tricks in my RC plane days, and I didn't realize this, but you can take like 99% isopropyl alcohol and put it onto the seam where the glue is, and if it's a CA glue, a cyano acrylic glue, it will break loose.
Okay, I'll give that a shot.
And I don't think it will dissolve anything because it's alcohol. It won't dissolve the paint or the plastic, but it does have an effect on the glue.
I want to congratulate Scott on knowing more about trains than any model aircraft enthusiast ever has. You got to admire that. We've got I want to Scott K, and then help me out, FECRR. That looks like Florida East Coast Railway, but I'm not sure what name goes with it. And then back to Joe. Well, let's start with Scott K.
Hi, Scott. This is Scott. How are you doing?
Hey,
thanks for joining.
Good. How are you? Good to see you.
Questions. I have three quick ones. First one is on the model deviation. You do 3-rail and 2-rail. Do we see as it's basically 50-50 split on the models, or does it vary from model to model?
It varies, and usually it's affected by the fact that maybe other manufacturers have made the same model in 3-rail over and over and over, and there's just not a lot of space left. If we come out with something unique, then it's more 50-50. So yeah, 3-rail is usually not as strong as our 2-rail market.
Really? Yeah. So maybe that's what's kind of halting the GP30, pre-orders, I guess. Because there's been quite a few done on the 3-rail side from the other manufacturers.
Something that keeps coming back again and again are RS3s. People keep saying, you got to make an RS3, you got to make an RS3. And Atlas, with the new MTH tooling that they acquired,
right,
coming out with it, and Lionel's coming out with it. It's like, is it really a market for an RS3? I really don't see it.
Especially with all the Weavers already out there. The old Weaver models.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, already on the market. And then one other one is what do you need O-Scale Central to do? As you know, we're promoting we're promoting two rail, trying to grow two rail because we want to see models get produced, right? That's probably one of our biggest limitations. I guess from growing two rail, that's one of our big limitations is. One of them, the other one's exposure. Is there anything you need from that you'd like to see us do differently or improve on that would help, grow two rail O scale? We
No,
don't
I
really
I
care
think
much
you
about
guys
the
are.
three railers,
Well, the three railers are intrigued by the two rail
Yeah.
customers as well. In fact, when I'm attending shows like the York show, the TCA show, it's primarily a three rail show, but Bob Heil and all of his friends come over and they're all talking two rail.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, that's
So
nice, but we'll see how many actually convert, right? I mean, they have so much material that they can choose from relative to two rail, especially in the new world.
Yeah.
And
So
go ahead.
Okay, I'm done.
FEC, you got your hand up. We're having FEC, RR. You
Well,
have your
David,
hand up, but
while he's trying to get his mute corrected, I got a question. Scott, any plans to do an Orient Express?
It's been kicked around. I don't get very many requests for Orient Express.
Okay.
So I
you're
don't
talking
know.
about American Orient Express or European Orient Express?
No, it's like the European, the Pacific Chapelon 231.
I don't know. Are you talking about a European Orient Express?
Yeah.
So I did business in Europe and France and the UK for a few years. Very difficult market. Very difficult to find somebody to work with that you can trust over there. It's a really hard sell. An American company making European prototypes, they kind of shy away from it. So I tried it. When I went to the UK, I went to the Telford show. They have a wonderful O scale show in Telford every year. I recommend it to anybody. It's great. They even have O scale live steam running in a loop in the middle of the display. And these people are ravenous about their hobby, and many of them make a lot of parts and sub-assemblies for making trains. And so I came out there with my brochures for a Flying Scotsman, ready to run Flying Scotsman, for $1,500, whatever, reservation without deposit. Give me your orders. And it came in very slowly, and as people got to know me. And then the next year I came, and there were three other guys doing the same thing. And they already went to Korea. They were already starting their projects. They have no qualms about jumping in and doing international business, because Europeans, they take one step to the left or the right and they find themselves in another country. So it's second nature to them. And I was pummeled with small competitors every step of the way. But we all had a good time, and I ended up selling everything. So it was fun. I made a lot of friends, and it was a neat experience. But I don't really see a purely European prototype for us again. There is an Orient Express that was in the U.S., and that was something that several of us had been looking at. That's not of interest to you?
No, it's the Venice Simplon Orient Express. The original one was kind of the main. It's the Agatha Christie movie. It's got the history.
Yeah. That might be a nice, very expensive brass project or something like that.
We are gonna have to move on. But I do want to give FECRR the opportunity with your raised hands. We could not hear you before. Let's try again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was going to comment on the paint stripping with the alcohol. I have used that many times, and as long as you leave it in there 24 hours, it's going to strip off whatever paint it's going to take. If you leave it in there for 10 years afterwards, it's still not going to take off any more paint. as I opened up a box recently that had a locomotive sitting in paint stripper for 10 years, and it was absolutely fine, but didn't take any more paint off. Just a bit of information.
So my guys here, when they take lettering off of a car, for instance, that had either decal or pad print, they use goof off, and they can get through the clear coat. They can get the decal off without disturbing the paint underneath, with a little goof off and a Q-tip, but not too much.
Wow.
And that's how we do those things.
Okay. We are, Rod Miller, you have your hand up. I'll give you one last shot.
Okay, just that, well, I want to add comments about O Scale West in light of your comment about the riskiness of having meets in hotels and their room night goals. We actually at O Scale West this year, we exceeded our room night goal, which gave us a credit on our bill for the ballroom. So while attendance was down, people came and stayed at the hotel, so that was good. So that's information we're working on.
Terrific.
That's it.
Thank you. All right. I really appreciate Scott's willingness to come out and answer all of the questions that we have. If you can give one more, and this could be a yes or no answer. It sounds to me like the business model continue for you and your companies and your products and your customers to be stable. And am I correct that, you know,
I feel it's stable
business
right
looks
now.
good?
Yeah, business is okay. I mean, you know, it's never a growth business. We do a certain amount of sales every year, and it doesn't really change very much with the economy. When the economy's bad, people dive into their hobbies. When the economy's good, you get more people with money, but everyone's traveling and buying cars and boats and houses and moving, and they're distracted from their hobby. So it kind of all evens out over the years. It's amazing. And so I use that to my advantage to, you know, plan ahead and keep the business rolling along. And
Terrific.
I can't do it with all you guys out there and people like Santiago. It's good seeing your face. I haven't seen you before, by the way. And I mean, you're always in there helping me with CB&Q diesels and checking drawings and things like that. Customers that step up and help out with that kind of thing to avoid a disaster really means a lot. It really is helpful. So I want to thank each and every one of you for the parts that you play in keeping this thing going. And I hope the hobby keeps going in O Scale. I don't see why not. There's younger people coming in that don't go to the shows, that don't, you know, get on the forums, and I see these new names all the time in two rail.
That's great. Well, thank you for the work that you do and for O Scale 2 Rail. It really is a great morale booster for the scale to have a stream of new products of very high quality coming in. And you know, you are the guy who is Mr. Reliable in terms of doing that, and we thank you.
I learned that from my dad.
Good.
He
Well,
really
Mort,
taught me how to conduct business.
Mort was a great guy. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
You're
everyone.
welcome. You're welcome to stay on for the rest of the show, but you're also welcome to jump off. I know you've got other things going on.
Yeah,
So,
we're gonna get to shipping, so I'll say goodbye to everybody for now.
thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Scott.
Okay.
Yeah, take care.
Okay. Next feature and the only remaining feature on the program is a presentation by Skylar Shippey. Skylar is one of the really bright lights in two rail O Scale and has been very active and energetic. He is on our board of directors for O Scale Central and is the deputy
Vice President.
director. He's also president of Detroit Model Railroad Club and has taken on the Cleveland O Scale show. And that's going to be great. We're expecting a greatly improved show. And Skylar has really done some thinking about the hobby and about the particular modular layouts. Younger modelers may not have the room that they would need for their own big layout. They may not have the budget for it. And so modular layouts are one of the real coming attractions for newer O-scale modelers. And Skylar has done some really great work thinking about it and then bringing it to fruition. And Skylar, I would like it if you would tell everybody on the call about your modular experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening or good morning, Monday morning to you all. I made this presentation in 2022 at the Chicago show, where we took the layout. We also took the layout this past March in 2023 and 2024, actually. Brief introduction. I'm 27 years old. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum as most. I've been in the hobby since 2007. I mostly do hand-laid track. I don't prefer flex track. I like the actual look of a custom-built frog or switch or what have you. So I've done mostly 148, some 172, dozens of switches, custom frogs, diamond, three-way switch, yada yada. I've been a member of the Detroit Model Railroad Club since 2007. 7 years on the board, 3 years as vice president, 2 years as president, and I am now involved with O-Scale Central in multiple different facets. So I also build structures, such as a trestle on the left picture, and I travel as much as I can. So the right picture is from David Vaughn's layout. First question you have to ask yourself is, why would you build a modular layout? You have to source materials, you have to have money for it, you have to have time to do it. And of course, once it's completed, you have to have somewhere to store it. You have to have a trailer to transport it, or a lot of friends. Maintenance is usually regular, and you have to have a show or event to go to. So the reason why we built ours is our club layout is in an old movie theater, so it's very hard to move. It also gives us publicity at local train shows. We've got regional shows here in Michigan, as well as potential shows in Ohio in future years. We can also pass out flyers and actually show what we do, rather than have tables where we're selling stuff and say, oh, by the way, come visit our layout that's up in Michigan. So we also represent our scale for future model railroaders. So if we go to a different show that's different hobbies, planes, trains, automobiles, that type of stuff, we'd represent ourselves there with the operating layout. We'd also connect with other local clubs. In our case, it would be the west side of the state, Grand Rapids area, as well as modular layout organizations, which would be in times to come. Part of my goal is to progress the conversation as to what would O-scale modular layout groups look like, how would they operate, and how could we intermingle with each other and operate on different layouts. So this particular layout on the right is what I've completed. It was designed in February of 2022. The construction was between June and August 1st of that year. So the show that we were at in 21, we had a time saver, and we were pretty much nudged by the guy that was there hosting the event, said, hey, how about next year you bring something bigger? So I did. The design of it, it's 15 feet wide by 30 feet long, rectangular. We have straight modules that can be interchangeable. They're different lengths. Some are 6 foot, some are 4 foot. 4 foot lengths for people with smaller cars, 6 foot just because they're a bit longer and they're not full 8 foot lengths. We want to have the ability to cross over from one loop to the other. We also want to have staging modules to stage trains in the center, where you could take cars off, put cars on while the two loops are continuously orbiting. The centers, we have 4.5-inch centers. This was a conversation during that year as to what centers should we use in O-scale 2 rail. Went with 4.5 because of the curves on the corners. It's hard to trust people to build curved modules with correct easements to allow a big boy in the inner loop and an 80-foot passenger car in the outer. So we went with 4.5 to be safe. This layout is also featuring a 6-foot minimum radius. So the inner loop is 6 foot, outer loop is 76.5-inch radius. We went with our standard O-scale wiring, 12 gauge stranded bus wires. We use suitcase connectors as well. We use Anderson power pole connectors to connect the modules together. And then we use clamps. It's not pretty, but you can get the adjustment that's required when you're putting these together. So you basically have 4 curved sections on either end. You have one module that has all the switches you would ever need for orbiting trains. There is a diamond, and we'll get to that derivation in a second. So when drafting out these corners, and this is when the computer world and the real world are slightly odd, I went with a 45-degree construction line. But at the same time, I wanted to cut 2 of these out of a sheet of plywood. So I'm holding the width of these at 22.5 inches. There's an angle here that's 69 degrees. And if you look at the center where the lines meet on the inside, if I were to go with an equal angle, as you'll see shortly, if I were to go with an equal angle, then that corner would be roughly where that trackboard would be. So in my sense, it was too close, so I made this degree to be 69 degrees. So on the right side, the angle is 69, which makes the opposite side 66 degrees to make the 45-degree angle. So this is just dirty as can be. I'm not proud of the dimensions. I'm happy with how it turned out. But yeah, so now we get on to cutting this out. Well, onto this first. So here we have number 6 switches as the stars, the diamond artifact as an actual diamond. And as I mentioned, the locomotives we could stage to our left, and on the right we could stage our rolling stock. So this is nice to have. My place of work, these lasers were in use at the time. In fact, I believe they were removed the week after I cut this, so it was perfect timing. These lasers were able to cut 1/2-inch plywood. So the right picture shows the laser cutting out the 2 pieces. And we also had the ability for etching. So we could turn the power all the way down on that laser, and it literally etched the center lines, which I was thankful for, primarily for the curves after the diamond. I could have laid out the other stuff, but those curves, I'm glad I had the cutout. So after these were cut out, I dry fitted on the left picture. It doesn't show up well, but I did use a laser. So I had the laser beam on the edge of the bottom trapezoid, and then you see the end of the laser at the top of that picture that's on that storage shelf or whatever, and it perfectly lined up. So I knew that I had 180 degrees. Next, we kitted. I cut the angles of the support bases on the sides, and then we framed them. In HO, I could have probably done this in the basement, but there wasn't enough room, so I took it out to the lawn. It was fun finding the center. It took me longer than I thought it would, but at the same time, I should have been realistic. I think it took 10 minutes to find the correct location. Okay, now the sub-road bed, which is now a sour topic for me. I'm regularly working, and we have guys that come into the club during the day. So while sitting at home, I say, "Oh, can you guys bring up a sheet of Epsom board, and then I'll cut it out back when I get there." Well, they did just that, but they grabbed a sheet of 3/8-inch Epsom board when I expected 1/4 inch. And naturally, I didn't know that until I stacked it up on the right. I said, "Good God, that looks thicker than I thought it would." And yeah, so needless to say, these are unique curved modules. So if you have a unique curved module, you might as well make it more unique and add super elevation. So I went 2.5-inch or 2.5 degrees, which in our world, it's enough to see, but it's not crazy excessive. It's not like the 6 degrees they have for fast Amtrak trains today. It adds more realism. It's not difficult to do. You do have to cut out, in my case, I cut out squares of styrene, and then I tiered them up in 12.5 or 13 different positions. And so these are 4 modules that have these tapered sections. And on the centers, you just put 1/8 inch styrene strips to raise the sub road bed. It gives certainly gives the look of elevation. So these are more pictures of the progress. Upson board was laid, ties were laid, no jigs at all. I much prefer doing it by hand. Left picture shows the ballasting work. So I was able to do 2 sets at a time for ballasting. So when I was done with the first set, I used some paint cans and start working on the next set. Right picture is just transportation from my basement to the club. Just simple. The way that they're stacked, actually, the 2 top ones, or at least the top left, that's not on any track at all because the track is offset. So this is the key module that I've called it. We used templates for number 6 switches. Those were laid out. The diamond was laid out. Here's the ties completed on the left, and then the staining on the right. We use not the ebony, but the what's the name of the stain? Anyway, it's the tier below that actually has a hint of brown in it. Laying of the rail, got away with using frogs from right away that we've had in our collection for years. The rail is 138. The frogs are 148. So I had to shave just a hair off of the frogs for them to fit well and roll through. Now we wanted to test the modules. So after I secured them together, we used a Pensy J1A. It's a 210 4 configuration, and it made it through both loops. And that was my tail of the test, that it was able to function during a show, which you want to have something with a test piece that's a long wheelbase. I suspect maybe a Santa Fe Northern could have sufficed as well. Now underneath on the curved modules, I've cut out steel plates. Then you have star knobs with shoulder bolts to go through to locate. When setting up during the shows, I often find that if you over tighten the star knobs, it actually pinches that point that you're securing down. It makes just a slight bit of a hump. So it's good for locating, but there's still enough adjustment that you have to make upon completion. Now that was done in 2022. This was done just before the March meet. We added a bridge module. There is a past member who had bridges. Both were 6 foot long. One was a Howe truss bridge. The other was a queen bridge, beam bridge, or what have you. We could use the second one, but this Howe truss, it's too tall even for our club layout. So we figured we'd throw it into the modular layout. So on the right is the case that we've used to haul it, and on the left we show the 2 3-foot modules that are used to go from 4.5 inch centers to 3 1/4, or I think it's 3 1/4 inch goes down. They're transition modules. Reason why they're 3 foot is the bridge itself is 6. So at this point you have 2 3s, 1 6. That's the equivalent of 2 6-foot modules. So for some stress testing, after I hooked up the wiring, took some MTH 2-rail die-cast locomotives. Honestly, this wasn't the true stress test. I did that months prior with these same 2 locomotives and 4 diesels. Bridge didn't care a bit. So this 6 foot long, it's wood construction with metal plates for the Miami Valley kits. But under the track board, I added some C-channel. So it's nice to have different tools at the place of work, like a brake press. So that was nice. Also adding the C-channel hid the wiring underneath, so there's absolutely no wires that are seen during the shows. On the right was this past Chicago meet, and funny enough, we used that as a duck under with no issues. Now, on to transportation. After the design's complete, you're ready to go to a show. How do you transport these things? Well, again, I added brackets to space out these modules so you didn't have rail that was conflicting with itself. Another module. So these are paired up. There's 4 pairs of these. And the trailer that I've used was an old car hauler that's been outfitted with a aluminum extrusion and tarping, or there's a better word for it. The 4 pairs of curved modules are in the front, and in the rear we have the straight modules either on end or in the cart that I completed just before the March show. So this is what it looked like upon arrival in Chicago on the right, and on the left was heading out to the first show at one of our local shows, the Crossroads Village. Speaking of, here's the trip so far. We've had 2 trips to Crossroads. They look different. 2 trips to Lansing. That looked different. First trip, we were in the lobby for the Lansing show. The second showing in November of 23, we were in the Michigan State University stock area. This is where they wash down the livestock. So luckily the smell wasn't there. We also went to the Ann Arbor Train Show in February of 23. Of course, the Chicago shows. We also went to the Denver show in June of last year. It's a fun trip. And yeah, the last showing was Chicago March Meet. So we've made some improvements. We've corrected some things. First thing was all the grass is the same color. That was not my department for the first show, but you better bet I made sure that was corrected. We've added skirting around the layout so it doesn't look naked. Bus wire connectors are tied down when transporting. You can see the Anderson power poles were kind of loose, but we've added Velcroing where we tie those down. Yeah, we broke one housing when we were transporting, and after that we corrected that. The legs, that's been a funny story. We've changed the mounting, we've changed the adjustments on the bottom. Yeah, I think we're on Rev E, I think, with the legs. One thing when you're building stuff in the basement and you don't have it all connected is you often find there's some method that you're using when sanding that doesn't well match up. So if you can imagine, if you're sanding down 2 of those modules with ties on them, when you start from one end and you go to the other, you're not really sanding down the ends as much as you should, unless you're really thinking about it. Well, I wasn't, so I had to spread apart the rails, make sure they're the right level when they're connected to other things. It looked a lot better. I can't remember which show is before this, but they certainly looked a lot better when you had a fast train going around because you could kind of see the humps as it went through. So this was a needed correction. Now this is funny add-on. We had a member join early last year. He's worked with making power supplies for music studios. So he's got all kinds of knowledge that we didn't have. And he also had a housing for, or a case that was sitting around doing nothing. So he said, oh, what do you want to put in there? I said, well, it'd be nice to have a command station, a booster or 2, how many ever you can fit, and, some readouts and on-off switches to toggle on and off the loops. So I'm pretty sure this came back within 1 week. He's pretty proactive. On the top right picture, you can see it's labeled as Atomic Instrument Company, but it has a type number or a code and has a contract number. This guy's rather funny. So the type code is TK421. He got that from the first episode of Star Wars when they're on the Death Star and the commander's calling down to the area that Han, Luke, Leia had gotten into. And he's like, come in, TK421. Are you reading TK421? So funny add-on. And I'm sure most of you guys can recognize the number for the contract. Give you a minute. So on the back of these, he's got extra fuses. You can see the fan for the supply. Funny enough, the supply that he has in there, we look at it, he says, it's blowing out cold air, which is, preferable. Lessons learned, 10 amps, 10 amps, 10 amps. If you have somebody that says, oh, you can get away with 5, don't listen to them. Get a 10 amp system. Remember to bring your clamps for joining modules. We only made that mistake once. Made a trip to Menards. They were rather happy with the bill, I'm sure. Label your legs once. So if you ever label the legs, you have one guy that's labeling one way, another guy that's labeling another. Try to make sure it's labeled the same way. Bring any related tool with you. I'll go off the cuff and say I brought my soldering station with me. I brought nearly every tool that I've ever used when building track, with me. So you never go wrong with doing that. Third thing is if you're in a venue with multiple layouts, always assume there's another NCE radio system. So find a way to tether it or have a wired cab just to avoid that problem if it does arise. Next one's rather personal. Don't bring every piece of your roster. I did this. I had like 8 cases of trains for a 2-day show. We had quite the variety. I just hated boxing and unboxing every 20 minutes. It was rather ridiculous. Another thing, because of the DCC world, is the track gets dirty very quickly. You're essentially running around in a circle, and all the dirt that's on your wheels is going to find its way to the track. We bring track cleaning cars, but also periodically wipe down with a rag and 91% alcohol. I usually have to do that twice a day just to make sure that things run well. And track adjustments are required. So if you do hand lay and not use sectional track, make sure to bring your track tools with a hammer and nail set so you can tweak the adjustments. Because in a sectional layout, you can get away with it. But if you have a modular layout where pieces intermingle, you'll always have to make some type of adjustment. So plans for the future. I've updated this since the last time I made this presentation. That was to build a bridge module. That's done. So the first thing is create different curve modules with a tighter radius. I probably will end up doing this at some point. 15 feet wide, sure, if you have a venue for it, it'll fit. But if not, it's nice to have a tighter radius. We may end up doing that. On the inside, we'd like to design some switching to fit in the middle. So while you have trains that are orbiting around, you can have active switching on the inside. And we also want to design scenery that goes either on the modules or have our own scenery modules. For those that saw how we transport this, you would have to ask yourself, well, how would they add scenery? Well, we've been asking ourselves that same question, but we have a few possible avenues of correction on that, whether making scenery modules or having holes drilled into the curved modules, and then you pluck trees in and out during the shows. So if I were to recommend anything to anybody, of whoever's building modular layout, use 4.5-inch track centers. Kind of follow along with the recommendation from the NMRA. Our first center line is 6 inches from the edge. Ends of module sets. So meaning you could have a set of modules, 3 or 4 wide, but you have to make sure that on the ends of that set that it comes back to the first center line being 6 inches from the edge, the next one 4.5 inches after that. Recommend using clamps unless you find a way to cleanly join modules with a different system. Clamps are probably the easiest way to use them. Use power pole connectors to connect bus wires. Other than the one broken housing, we haven't had an issue. As long as you fasten the stranded ends of the wires correctly to the tip. And then our height, we've kind of gotten some criticism in almost both directions on our height. We use 4-foot legs, or we use 8-foot 2x2s cut in half. So it comes out to be 50-ish inches to the railhead. And personally, I feel that that's the optimal height for O-scale, because the kids that are younger, that don't know no better, their parents usually lift them up to watch the trains. But the kids that are either at that level or slightly taller, they know better than to touch anything. So that's the height what we went with. I'm still happy with it. Also for getting in and out of the modules, it's nice to have that height. Next steps, want to coordinate with O-scale Central, discuss with other modular groups on promoting this mentality, because after we push the recommendations, quote unquote standards, we could then get others involved and find a regional place to meet up. Same thing with clubs. Clubs, again, in my case, it's hard to move our club layout. So this would be the best way to meet up, experience things with other clubs, because it's kind of hard to do outside of a trip. Then yeah, work with other train shows. Could be all scale shows. Should actually be preferable to go to an all scale show and do this, just for the exposure. So after that, I'll open up to questions.
Super. Thank you very much, Skylar. Not everybody is going to be into modular layouts, but a lot of people are. And the techniques you used and the thinking that went into them and the thinking coming out of the project are applicable to a lot of different construction projects and layouts that go well beyond modular. So thank you very much. Questions for Skylar?
Well, I had my hand up, but I'll ask anyway since I did get called. Skylar, out of curiosity, is the 172, is that brass or is that nickel silver?
No, that's all steel.
Okay, I inherited my dad's 172 brass. So, are you using easements on your curves?
Not for this module set, but probably for the next one.
Okay.
Mainly because I want to make this a true module set where you could go from one to the other.
Yeah. And do you have any of these diagrams and measurements anyplace?
I have it drawn up in Autodesk Inventor. And actually, my plan after this is I want to add to the slides my descriptions, talking points. I want to upload this presentation as well as the design and dimensions. So
Okay.
probably be uploading that to OScale Central at some point soon.
That sounds good. Yeah, and I can relate to the 6-foot radius. I'm second generation. I'm taking my dad's old 72-inch radius and trying to put it outside. So trying to build a roadbed for that. Anyway, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Carl.
Other questions for Skylar?
Not for Skylar in particular, but I have 3 sections of a modular railroad I had that was a complete circle. It was 8 sections. And it did have scenery on it. In fact, the sections I kept still have scenery, which include a tunnel and which has a switch that goes through it and goes around that was to come onto the inside, which were much shorter curves there. The outside radius on it was 5 foot 6 inches, which my passenger cars, full length 85-foot heavyweights, would just barely go around that with the wheels squealing. Yeah, I like you guys, your plan there. The only thing that I might add to it in the future is alignment pins for, making sure that everything aligns, and that way the clamping goes much easier. We've done this in HO scale. We had a machining company cut out an aluminum jig and then put in 2 steel inserts where we drill out holes, and the holes match 3/4 inch pipe that we then taper the ends on so they fit in there and everything aligns up. You just, you do one, you match up the next one and lay the track when it's got the pins in place, and you never have to worry about it again.
Yeah, that's a thought. It's just we've interchanged modules nearly to every trip that we went to. So we would, if we were to do that with locating pins, we'd have to go through almost surgically and make sure they're the same on each module we do.
You pretty much have to do it from the start, and do your modules and then pass the jig on to other people that you're working with. It takes an effort, but all things have to start somewhere. But it looks really good.
Thank you.
I was a member of the OScale, the Detroit Model Railroad Club, when it started in Holly in the very beginning. My uncle was one of the founding members and bought one of the bonds.
No kidding.
Yep. So
long history there.
I have engines that have ran there many, many times.
Should come up and see it sometime. A lot's changed.
I'm wanting to. We'll be up in the fall, but you won't be open for the dates we're there in the fall. We're coming up to see Bill Hayes's live steam railroad in the fall.
Yeah, well, we don't have open houses until November, but we're usually there every Tuesday. Or send me an email. I only work a few minutes from there, and I can find a way to meet up.
Yeah, Fenton's not far, so all right, that sounds great.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
All right, other questions or comments for Skylar?
Doug Albrecht here from Baltimore, Maryland. Skylar, tell me again what the connectors were. They were some kind of a screw-on connector between the sections. What do you call those?
Those would be star knobs that we bought from McMaster Car. So it'd be quarter 20.
Oh, they are quarter. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I had done a presentation a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago rather, of a modular layout that the Baltimore Society of Model Engineers put together, and we're using quarter 20 bolts to hold the sections together, and we're just looking for something that might be a little bit more hold the sections together a little easier than we're just using standard quarter 20 wing nuts, but these star nuts sound like they might be.
Oh, absolutely. Night and day difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Canner, you got your hand up. Jim?
Skylar, thank you for the hard work. I've had a chance to view this module railroad you had a couple times, and it runs flawlessly. And for any of us that take these to the shows, realize of all the work that goes in before and after just to participate in a show. And I want to thank you for all the work that you do.
Well, thank you, Jim. Happy to do it.
And I think that goes for everybody on the call. Thank you. And there are a lot of ideas that go beyond in the presentation that go beyond a modular layout. You can use this on a lot of this on any layout. So thank you. Anything further for Skylar? All right. Well, we have been at it a while. These programs generally take longer than you think they're going to. I try every time and keep it short, and I always end up going over. I apologize. The real question is, whether you can keep your audience, and whether it's topic or length, I'm not sure. We lost a few, but this is good stuff. And I thank you all for your presentation. This ends the formal portion of the program. It is our custom to stay on so that people can do some kibitzing or ask questions across to other members of the audience, or just do good and welfare, whatever works. So thank you. The formal part's adjourned. We remain on the program. I'm sorry, Jerry Ingram has his hand raised. I apologize. Didn't see you.
There we go. Not a problem. Hey, Skylar, are you still there?
Yep.
Oh, great. Hey, I loved your slides, and also the dimensions and those issues you used in building your modules. Is there any chance that that set of or deck can be shared with the group?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll probably, as I mentioned, I'm probably going to upload this slide presentation with talking points below the slides, as well as the design and dimensions for the layout itself.
Where would we find that once you get it uploaded?
It'd be on OScale Central.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
And it's pretty simple. It's oscalecentral.com. All one word, no punctuation, no spacing.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are adjourned, and we think of this as sort of milling around in the room after the meeting adjourns, and people just shoot the bull a little bit. Have any announcements? We did see briefly a screenshot of the nickel plate SD40-2s. And I think those are so cool that if Jim Canner can figure out how to get that up on the screen again, I'd love to show everybody that one, especially now that we have talked with Scott Mann. And while Jim is trying to do that, I see that FEC Railroad, tell us your name. That'll help. Your hands up, FEC Railroad.
Yeah, my name is Pat Turner.
You have to wait for him to go back to you.
How do you do?
I'm good. And my question was, the train show in Duluth, Georgia, the end of the month, was a decision ever reached if the modular group is going to bring the modules down there?
That may be a question for Dan Mason, and I'm not sure if Dan's still on the call.
Okay.
Apparently not, but O-Scale South has a website. Why don't you try and reach out to Dan through that?
Okay, yeah, either that or I've got the email. I just thought he might still, somebody might still be on here. All right, that's fine.
Okay.
And I guess with that, I'm going to bow out. But I like the idea with the bridges being, sections between modules. That was an interesting thought because I have two 4-foot bridges. One's a Howe truss bridge, and one's a Warren truss bridge that are both exactly 4 foot long. That would make nice side by sides for a module section. I hadn't thought of that before, so it's giving me fuel for thought.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Come back and see us next month.
All right. Thank you.
All right. And following up on Scott Mann's presentation, this is the nickel plate SD40-2s, and coupled to it is a Wheeling and Lake Erie SD40-2. Both of those are out of the current production from Scott Mann Sunset Third Rail. And needless to say, we are delighted with not only the product, but we really found it easy to work with Scott. And if anybody has a secret project that you'd love to move along, talk to Scott. He's very open and very cooperative. So we thank him for that. And here are the first shots of the nickel plate SD42s.
Why is there a third rail?
I'm sorry?
Why is there a third rail in there? I see the third rail.
I don't know. Let's ask Jim Cantor about that. What is that all about?
That's my little test track, so I can check 3 rail items or 2 rail. And so I don't have to switch back and forth. Are you able to see these various shots?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just walk you through this in about 30 seconds. Yeah, that's just a test track that I check things out real quick. And so I'm showing this picture on the right side is an Overland GP30. And then the third rail of SD40-2 that I just received Saturday.
Now, why'd you guys decide a high hood on them?
They ran on the nickel plate, the N&W did, and they had high hoods, and I just grew accustomed to the high hoods that the N&W had, and they ran on the nickel plate. So when they had the GP7s and 9s and the Alco units, I just liked the high hood look because that kind of went along with the sergeant stripes down the face and the rear. And so that was, since it was my fantasy and David's, we thought, hey, let's just try it. And that's what we did. Here they're back to back. I will say something about Scott. If you guys want a project done, and he will work with you. The thing that he talked about was how he funds projects. I'm going to tell you, if you want to get a project done, write the check. That helps him, and it helps move everything forward. So that's one thing I found out about this project. And money talks, okay? And Scott will remember that. I'm just going to walk you through some of the shots here. As I said, I got these Saturday afternoon. Actually, the UPS guy drove by my house, wasn't going to stop, literally ran down the street waving my arms, going, "Hey, stop, you got the wrong house." Okay. So we were able to bring him back. We unloaded everything. Just showing you some different shots here of what they look like. But the nickel plate had non-dynamic units. So one of the things that David and I talked about was even having SD40-2s with non-dynamics. Not standard, but again, we were trying to keep the nickel plate running into the 70s and 80s. This here is a quick shot of literally proto-48ing this unit at O-Scale West, which I had a great time. Jay Criswell, if you look, has these wheels available, and I simply pull out the existing wheels that came with the unit. This is a drop-in from Scott, so I'm able to take the bottom of the gearbox off, take out the set of drivers or wheels, and put in the new set. It's an easy process, and Proto 48 it's not for everyone, but it is bringing some people into the hobby for a second look. And so here's what it looks like as when it comes from the factory. All right. Here is, again, if you look to the left, you will see Jay Criswell's wheels. They are painted. And if you look to the center, that is a standard wheel that comes with Scott's SD40-2. And then on the right side is yet I'm changing that wheel out. But I just wanted to take some quick pictures and again show you this is about a $16 item that you can buy direct from Jay Criswell. If you'll notice, it has the gear. It's pre-gauged. Here's one of the nice things about the SD40-2s. The trucks on the actually have ball bearings, and so the axles are designed for a 2.5 millimeter axle and 2.5 millimeter bearings. So literally all of these operate with ball bearings, so it's a great drive. They have wipers on the back side, so you don't have to worry about damaging the bearings when you run these units. So it's a real good marriage between what Jay Criswell does and what Sunset Third Rail does with their units. There again, it shows a scale wheel. You can use scale wheels whether you're 4 foot 8.5 or 5 foot gauge. Either one will work. Just giving you a quick, this here, there's a shock absorber on the side of these that has to be pried out to get this center unit up. Just giving you a quick overview of, there's what it looks like running on the nickel plate and plywood. Now, my layout's not detailed and scenic like David Bond's, but I still have as much fun. And, but again, another shot, David. We also use the all-weather windows on these units, okay? I'm proud of this unit because this has David's birth year on it, 1944. So it's not 1044, it's 1944. So there you go, David.
Feels like 1,000.
Okay. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you, man.
Looks great.
Thank you, Jim.
How do I close that out?
All right.
Hey,
Anybody
Jim?
got anything else to ask or tell? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Jim a question about DCC. What are you running, or what does it come with?
It comes with ESU, okay, and I'm learning how to set that up and literally how to adjust like the volume of the unit. I learned that, how to set up the cabs. So it's a learning process, but I was willing to stay up late because I was having so much fun. The only thing that was missing last night was the Christmas tree. And if I'd had a Christmas tree, I'd have been happy because I got trains yesterday that was only just a fantasy. So it was great. But
wonderful. Thank you.
Anyway, it's a good unit. I would highly recommend it. I personally use the Tsunami 2s, but at this point, I think they're all great units. So you have to pick your flavor and go with it.
Yeah, they did give up on the old decoders at Sunset Third Rail, which was a great step forward.
David, do you mind if I say something?
Absolutely, please do.
Thank you. I see that Carl's still struggling with the window inserts, the clear window inserts.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you're familiar with a company called VMS, Vantage Modeling Solutions.
No, I haven't heard of them.
They make really interesting and user-friendly weathering products for the most part, but they have a CA glue debonder. It's UVMS, so it may be worth checking out.
Debonder, where would I find it?
They have a website, and I think you can order from a couple of places in the States because I think they're European. But if you go to VMS, I think it's vms.com, I'm not sure, but if you look it up on Google, it should show up right away.
What's the full name of the company? I'm 65. I'm 65, so I can't write fast, even though I was a teacher. What was the name of the company again? I got the VMS.
Vantage Modeling Solutions, VMS.
Modeling Solutions. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
How is your CB&Q modeling coming?
Well, I'm actually doing something different for once. I think I'm on the last efforts on doing anything exposition flyer, which I've been doing for the past 10 years. But I'm taking some steps towards modeling a World War II military train, which is going to be a pain in the butt, but remarkably interesting, and it's going to take even more than that, even more than 10 years to complete. But hopefully I'll do one more car for the flyer, which is a Rio Grande car that I'm scratch building. But right now I'm thinking mostly about a World War II military tank train, which it's very interesting and demanding and time consuming and challenging, but I find it fascinating.
There's a fellow named Brian Scase. I don't know whether you know Brian, but Brian did a great deal of research on World War II military trains and had at one point all of how much equipment would have been in them, how many cars, what kind of cars, and so on. If you don't know him, I'd be happy to, if you'll email me, I will give you his email address. I suspect he still has the research available.
Thank you, David. I like that. And one of the things that I find particularly interesting about those trains is that much like the flyer, they're kind of impossible to model because whatever you see, it's either propaganda by the government because they were so secretive about the whole operations that the research and the photographs and everything are not what would you say, are not reliable. That's exactly right. About the real trains that they put together, but doesn't make it any less interesting. But thank you. Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you for the help.
Okay, reach out to me.
San Diego, this is Charles. I did a 27-car military train during COVID, and I used the Tamiya Sherman tanks, and they're deuce and a halves. They're very good models. They're fairly complicated to build, but they go, after you do 2 or 3, they go together pretty fast. And there's several books out on World War II. Rails to Victory, and I bought all the books I could find when I was building it. It has a lot of pictures of tanks being loaded and different equipment.
Thank you, Charles. Yeah, I've been looking into that too, and it's fascinating. I have something like 10 or 12 Hobby Boss M4 Shermans coming in. I wanted to go with the Tamiya ones because Tamiya is absolutely the best. But the die-cast hull would make for a very heavy train, so I went with Hobby Boss. But I do want to put some Tamiya kits together to put into a train. Thank you for the comment.
The Tamiya is all plastic.
But I think only the Easy 8.
Okay, well Okay, that's
Right?
a pretty complicated kit to build.
Yeah.
A lot more complicated than the Maya.
Santiago,
it's definitely fun.
One other place that you might try for parts is Shapeways. Shapeways Marketplace has a lot of different military items, different scales, and of course it's all 3D printed resin. You might try there.
Interesting, like crates and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they might even have tanks.
Interesting. I'll look it up.
And
Thank
other
you.
kind of armor that they might be hauling.
Well, so far I have some kits. I'm putting together a couple of builds by I think it's a French company called Gasoline. They make really nice, interesting resin stuff. They're very difficult to build because the instructions are almost non-existent, and they give you a couple of a couple of bags full of parts. But the flash, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's very user friendly, to be honest. But when they're put together, they look really nice. Anyway, I'll post about that stuff later on. But right now, I'm just working on that.
The only problem I have is finding enough flat cars.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, we have made it to 6:06 p.m. Eastern time. And I think we were probably about, you'll pardon the expression, running out of steam. If there's anybody that wants to say any last words, good and welfare, by all means do.
David, I have a
Otherwise,
question for the group. I could use some recommendations on a glue or adhesive that would be good to bond like model plastic to Zamek, as I'm trying to find a way to attach the noses on my F7A that's going to be really durable. Any suggestions on an adhesive that will do a pretty permanent bond between Zamek and I think it's polystyrene plastic.
Probably two-part epoxy.
You know, like JB Weld?
I haven't tried that. The ACC would work, but it's brittle and it's liable to break off in handling.
Well, I'm doing some testing now with two-part epoxies, but I'm not having like the results that I feel confident with. But
you should rough it up with a piece of emery cloth or something like that to give it some tooth.
Yeah, I've done that, and I've like surface prepped it with a little bit of acetone and to kind of make sure it's like grease free. But I want something that's like a permanent bond, and I'm still experimenting.
Okay.
all right. Phil Taylor, would you please give me an email text? I got some stuff on nickel plate O-scale I want to talk to you about.
All right, David. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else? I thank you for your time and patience. I hope that this was as much fun for you all as it was for me. And unless we got anything else, I'm going to sign everybody off.
I just want to mention Santiago. I looked it up. It's VMS-supplies.com. So that's the only part that was different than from what he recommended. So I did look at it. Don't know where to get it yet, but I'll keep looking. Thanks, Santiago.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
See, Greg, what's our date next month? Do you have it?
Yeah, I think it's July 21st. That's a Sunday.
All right. Well, we'll
yeah,
send
July 21st.
We'll send out invitations, but mark it on your calendars. Thank you,
Do we
guys.
have an itinerary for that? I can
That's
put on the website.
That's long range planning at this point, Scott. We're just trying to get through tomorrow. You know, after that, it's all long range planning. No, we'll get it to you as early as we can. I know it's useful to have it out there, and I appreciate you bugging us about it.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Have enjoyable trains and be safe. Bye-bye.